This is a Happening Extra, and I'm Brian Osuch. Many of us are looking for love, and we're using dating apps to find it. According to online research, a few of the more popular ones are Hinge, Bumble, and Tinder, just to name a few. However, we need to be careful because many of us are finding more than physical attraction and love. Today, I'm talking to Denise Leonhard. She's a general manager for Zelle, and she says we need to be protecting our hearts and our bank accounts.
So as Americans spend more and more time online, whether that be dating apps or social media platforms, we find that scammers are following us there. So for example, think about your romance scam. Somebody may reach out on a dating app and then may start to contact you through texts and emails, sending you pictures that are too good to be true. And then they might reach out and ask you for money. If you haven't met that person in real life, it's not true love. It's definitely a scam.
Believe it or not, men are most likely to fall for these romance scams. However, women lose 2.5 times more money, and it doesn't matter your age. Gen Z, millennials, you're being targeted too because of social isolation, loneliness, and lack of experience. Those are things many of us have been reporting over the past few years. And if there's a new widow in your life, she's at risk too. So how can we keep ourselves and our loved ones safe?
So it's really important to stay safe by doing a few things. So for example, whenever anybody's asking you to send money, take a pause, take a deep breath, and then ask yourself, do I know this person? Do I trust this person? And then and only then send money. The other thing is listen to your gut. If something is off, definitely ask more questions. You also feel free to either hang up the phone or stop texting and go talk to people that you trust, like your family and your friends, and describe to them the situation. You don't need to be in this alone.
Oftentimes, these fraudsters use peer-to-peer payment systems to collect their cash. Denise, what's being done to protect our hearts and our money?
So Zelle processed $1 trillion of payment volume last year. $1 trillion. That's a lot of zeros. And it's a real testament to 151 million American consumers and small businesses who trust and use Zelle on a daily basis. And with that amount of transactions, we see millions of transactions every single second. So we have very sophisticated models and technology running in the background in order to identify bad actors. But what's really important to note is that the fraud and scams happen way before the payment. They happen at that moment of connection, whether that be on social media platforms or through a spoofed phone call. So it's really important for Americans to stay vigilant in order to be safe.
Denise, that is so important to remember. The fraud does not begin at the payment. It begins at the initial connection. That's a big takeaway. All right, finally, many of these banks and credit unions, they're community-based. Tell us a little bit more about that.
So Zelle is a network of 2,200 banks, which includes large banks, community banks, as well as credit unions. And out of that 2,200, 95% are small community banks and credit unions. And we love our community banks and we love our credit unions. And we think that this is an essential part to be able to enable Zelle for even more Americans.
So before we give away our hearts and possibly our last rose, we need to be thinking about our money. Where can we go for more information?
You can check us out at zellepay.com.